Welcome to Get Real with Dr Ronaye, featuring Doctor of Clinical Psychology and Trauma Specialist Dr Ronaye Calvert and Bindi Heit from Ethical Change Agency. We're back for another week of Get Real with Dr Ronaye. Welcome, Ronaye.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here with you again.
And we're going to get straight into it with more questions.
Absolutely. So I'm excited. This question comes to us from a young woman in New York City who obviously has very big questions that I personally love the challenge of answering. And I think you will too. And what's special about this question is it's actually for the both of us. So we should have a little bit of fun with this, okay? As two female entrepreneurs and self-made women, how do you stand in your own strength without competing, comparing, or defending yourself against members of the opposite sex?
That's a big question, and for me personally, it's all about the self. So for me, it's about being unapologetically myself and trying not to actually think about anybody else's judgment, because it's all about my own self-validation as a woman, or no matter what we identify as, I don't think it really matters as long as you have that belief in yourself and you are just unapologetically yourself. And for me, something I've learnt now that I'm in my 40s is that after so many years of conditioning, through society, through, family, the people that we live around, you learn habits. And one thing I've learnt from my friends around my age group is that women's emotions have been muted for centuries. We talk about women's oppression, and I know around the world just this week there's been marches for women's equality. And it's interesting that some of my friends that are really into energy work have shared this with me, that in their 40s and 50s they're experiencing a change. And that change is they're seeing that oppression and that muting of emotions after so many decades for women, that's what results in menopause. And that kind of blew me away. And when you let go of all of that oppression and all of that energy that comes with it historically, it just doesn't happen to you. So that in itself has been absolutely fascinating for me, and I've found also that I'm starting to be surrounded by other women who actually teach us how it is to be unapologetically a woman. Women for decades are always sorry for who they are, and they shouldn't be. Never apologize for who you are. Stand strong in who you are. And yes, women have that divine feminine energy, but they also have a masculine energy, and they don't need to be afraid of that. You need both for balance. And I think it's really important that you embrace both sides of yourself, because it really helps you be the rounded person that you are. So for me as well, it's about self-expression and really embracing that. And again, it's all about just being yourself, regardless of how you identify yourself. And really, as an entrepreneur, I have to say I'm kind of lucky in that I've not been held back because I'm a woman. I've almost been embraced more because I am. And I don't know whether that's something just here in Australia that is a trend, but I, in workplaces and as an entrepreneur, are more surrounded by women than men. It just seems to be what happens for me. So I'm quite lucky in that regard. Also, it comes back to authenticity and believing in your choices that you make in life. For me, I don't have children, I'm not married, and I've discussed previously about my sexuality and how I've come out gay. Not all of that is a choice. I just think we need to support women regardless of their choices and who they actually are. So What's your viewpoint on it, Ronaye?
Well, I would just love to address our audience member directly and to thank her for coming forward with such an important question. It's such a brave question to ask. We now know in the world at large that there is such a continuum of sexuality, of gender identity. While yes, I identify as female, I know that this problem exists in so many sectors of the business world. Whether you are non-binary, whether you are gay, whether you're transgender. And for me, going back to what Bindi was saying, it is about authenticity. I think one of the ways and one of the important questions that you asked is, how do you get through this without being defensive? How do you get through this without being combative? How do you get through this without being somebody who needs to, if I can paraphrase your question, how do you get through this without being somebody who is jaded by feeling oppressed? And to me, that really has to do with embracing our own power. I feel very powerful in my own skin. And that has taken years to accomplish. It's taken years to accomplish feeling like I don't want to be somebody else. I wouldn't trade places with somebody who was a heterosexual male, a gay male. I absolutely believe in gender equality, but I do believe that we are separate but equal. And what I mean by that is, as women, if we identify as women, if that is our gender identity, I believe that there is tremendous power that we wield as women. And I think that when we compare ourselves to any other, whether it's another male who is our gender opposite, or really any person along the spectrum, even another female, when we compare ourselves and we put ourselves in a one-down position, that is coming from us toward ourselves. That is a personal attack. It's a personal attack on ourselves to say, I'm going to define myself as less than. I'm going to define myself as being oppressed. I'm going to define myself as being unequal. And don't get me wrong, I do understand your question as a female from New York City. I live in California, so we're in the United States together. I understand the long-fought battle of gender equality in the workplace, of being able to have equal pay and equal rights as men. I know for years and years there have been statistics that women make far less than men do for the same job, and by no means am I saying that that is in any way acceptable to me. I do believe, however, that the answer to that problem is not in making men or others that do not share our gender identity the enemy. I believe that it's about loving ourselves and embracing ourselves and looking about what's right about ourselves. I personally believe that women possess an entirely different set of strength, of perseverance, of resilience that is truly unique to being a female, that is truly unique to being a goddess. However you identify, whatever sex you are born, when you identify as female and you embrace the power of that femininity, that is true feminism. I am looking to embrace myself as an authentic being. I am looking to say that I am a powerhouse in and of my own right, and that by tearing another down, that actually does not do anything for me. It does not do anything to advance society. It does not do anything to bring us closer together. Because we're not comparing. We're not competing. We are saying, you be you. Be the best you that you can be. And I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be the best me that I can be. And I'm not comparing myself to you, and I'm not saying that I need to be able to lift the same amount of weight physically as you can to prove to myself that I have as much value. I'm saying I'm going to look at my unique qualities as me, an individual person, and I'm going to embrace those and celebrate those. And the more I'm able to do that, the more I'm able to embrace you and celebrate you. And for me, in all the years that I've been doing this, without there being difference in the way that we view the world, without there being difference in the way that we embrace one another's unique characteristics, my God, the world would be such a boring place. If all of us were the same and none of us had something unique and exceptional to bring to the table, then we'd all just be mirrors of one another. I look at me and I think of what is my next best? What is the best next step that I'm going to take to rival myself, to get to the next level of who I can be? And so for me, it's not about I'm not defending myself against an oppressor. To me, I am freeing myself from being my own oppressor. And the best way that I can free myself from being my own oppressor is to look at myself and say, what about me, the authentic, unique Ronaye Calvert, is special, unique, authentic, and genuine to me? There is only one me in the world. And there is only one you in the world. And that's not about, yes, there are glass ceilings. Yes, it is absolutely unfair for gender equality in pay, etc., across the board to still be an issue at this point in time. But if we go on the attack, and what we do in order to achieve success is to tear down another, I simply do not believe that that actually ever contributes anything positive to the world. The more I know about who I am, and the less I am willing to sacrifice through comparing, through defending, through considering myself in a one-down position, I simply will not accept that as true. It will not be true in my world. I need to raise myself up. I need to find my voice. I need to use my voice. And I need to basically understand at a core level that my strength and what I have to offer is unquestionably equal and powerful and motivating and inspirational. And only I can take that away from me. And I certainly hope that the answer to this question helps you understand that the more that you stand in your own strength, accept, acknowledge, and love who you are, the last thing you ever want to do is give your power away by trying to match someone else in what they feel their strengths are. Own your own and celebrate them, and I promise you, others will follow.
Couldn't agree more. And, two things that came to mind there, Ronaye. What you let pass, you accept. And, your power is yours to own. And the moment you give that away, that's where you actually let that pass.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's really so very important, is the idea that how we identify and what we allow to pass really is a choice. And we can feel sometimes like we're victims of this system, like it is something that's happening to us And for many years, I know that oppression is true. I'm not ignoring that. But I think that there are ways in which we move past oppression. And I don't think we move past oppression by oppressing another. And I don't think we move past oppression by trying to identify with aspects of ourselves that are not authentic and are not true to who we are. I can't think of any worse way of becoming and evolving than to try to morph ourselves into someone that we're not to prove something to somebody else. The more we stand in our own authenticity, the more power we have. That's just simply the way I feel about it, Bindi.